Thank you. 7:02 now. Welcome to the third meeting of the Islay Natural History Trust. The trust in its various guises has been going on a good deal longer than 3 years, and we'll learn a bit more about that this evening. But this is the third meeting in its present entity. I'm the new chair of the trust. It used to be Fiona, but Fiona handed over to me in the summer, and so I'm going to chair today's proceedings. But most of the things you'll hear about in the formal business take us up to the period of April 23, rather than in the current year. So we give notice of the AGM on the 7th of January. We're obliged to give 2 weeks' notice, so we've comfortably exceeded that. Now we've got the quorum is 10 for this meeting, and we've comfortably exceeded that too. So it's very nice to see you all, both at home and in the centre. I have a number of apologies for absence. I'll read them out. They're from Stuart and I can't read Celia Todd. I'm sorry they can't be with us. David Whittle, Pat and Jane McGran, Beth Clark, Heather is here. I thought there was going to be apologies, but very pleased to see Heather. Fiona Nisbet and David Jardine. And
that's good. No, you have to mute me again.
That's better. Right. So that's the apologies. I have the minutes circulated previously. That's the minutes of our AGM held on the 12th of April 2023. Does anybody have any points to raise about the minutes? No. All of the matters arising are covered in the following agenda items. So does anybody have any points they wish to make about them now? No? Okay. Which brings us neatly to the chairperson's report, which will begin with Fiona, and then we'll move on to Mark, who is the treasurer.
Because it covers basically last year's season and not last year's season. It was a year where we had a number of survey enterprises going on. So we had the final year of the birds and marsh artillery peatland surveys that we were doing for the CAN project. We also took on a wee project with RSPB, which was looking at dung beetles. So my previous experience with dung beetles, I was able to pass on to 2 other people, teach them how to identify and enjoy the peeling part of the cowpats for RSPB. So that was quite good, passing on some information. We continued with the verges project as we kind of continued to do year on year, monitoring some of the verges that the council agreed to cut late or not cut at all. And filtered that back into the Argyll and Bute Council Roads Department. That one is sort of coming to an end as such. They're not quite sure that what we've done so far has caused enough reduction in grasses along the verge side, so they might not like roll it out further afield. However, where we left sections for orchids, and allowed those to grow and not be cut, that has been successful, and they agree that we might be able to extend those sections to leaving areas for orchids. It does mean me going out with a scythe at the back end of the season and cutting all the grass and clearing it, but if they leave it and the orchids go, that's fine. We have been developing the centre through that season, so post-COVID and into. And you'll notice, everyone will see the new displays that came up to replace the original sets are all been in place a couple of seasons now and working really well. And that was funded by the Botanist Foundation. We got funding from Bord na Gaelic to put in Gaelic signage. So with the help of Kate Coots and Lynn McLean, we have bits of Gaelic in various places throughout the centre. We had the honeybees back in for the seasons. That's proved year on year to be quite a successful new feature. We had some postponed work that we were going to do in 2020, which we managed to roll out, which is bushcraft training. So there's a few of us who are a bit more trained in how to do bushcraft activities with children. We managed to utilise some of those skills to provide a wee session this year. And so we had also funding through the CAN peatland project to roll out a load of community engagement, extra walks and things which feature peatlands in the framework, and that worked. It was good for us that we had a focus to provide for peatlands. Funding wise, it didn't work out well for us, but that's the sore point. But that's how that one went. I think that sums up roughly a year 22 season.
Okay, thank you. And funding wise, the sore point that didn't quite work out as we expected was because it proved very hard to claim European funding.
It was European funding, and then every I and T needs to be crossed and dotted, and we didn't manage to provide all the right photos and evidence to say that we did what we did, and it didn't go through. So
we were a little down on that.
We probably,
how much?
Well, the project was hoping to give us about 11,000, and we probably got about 4, which was very disappointing. But yeah, it was a hard lesson learned. So.
Right to go. Mark, do you want to?
Yeah, sure.
This is the accounts to April 2023.
Indeed, which is always kind of quite tricky because I'm looking at the accounts much sort of weekly at least, or probably more than weekly, because if I don't look at more than weekly, then the app from the co-op actually falls over and doesn't let me log back in unless I re-register. So I have to look at the accounts pretty regularly anyway to kind of see where we're up to. So it's always a bit tricky to kind of cast your mind back to where the accounts kind of were. One thing that we did do during this year is stop charging people entry into the centre and move to a voluntary contribution model instead. I think looking at the accounts, I should explain. The accounts kind of roughly, they're split into 3 different sections. So there's the kind of our working funds, our reserve money that we actually have to spend on ourselves, which is around £17,000 we've got in there at the moment. Then there's restricted funds, which is for like projects and the work that Fiona does, where we get money that's put aside for specific tasks, and sometimes there's a little bit left over which we can then claw back into our pot, but quite often there isn't. And then there's the budget funds that we've got, which is historical, but it's an amount of around £40,000 that's originally set aside for potentially new premises or renovating these premises, which we're not allowed to touch, and that's completely ring-fenced. So we're kind of working with 3 separate pots. The kind of best way to look at the accounts really is to take out the restricted funds, which we have to spend on certain things, and to take out the budget funds, which we don't spend at all. If you have a look at that, then the accounts, the working capital accounts, our money, were down for £1,360 for the year. Whether that's down to the funding model, I'm not really convinced, because, as I say, I look at the accounts all the time, and what I've seen, particularly last season, which is post the accounts, is it seems that we're generating quite a lot more money out of the centre, because kind of the way that their accounts are split is we're looking at revenue that's generated from the centre, whether that's kind of donations in the centre or sales within the centre. That's kind of that pot of money that I see, because I'm not seeing it at that granular level. So we lost £1,360 for the year, but the previous year, again, when we were charging for admissions, we actually lost £1,690. So we actually lost less money with a voluntary contribution scheme than we did the previous year. And kind of what I've seen in the accounts up to now, as I'm on top of those, is it looks like we had a pretty good year last year, thanks to amazing efforts of the people that were staffing the place and make it the place big to come. So I'm kind of fairly confident that changing model hasn't really impacted much on the takings, and kind of as we are, 17,000 will last us a decade. If we lose the same amount every year, we won't run out of funds for another 10 years, and by which point we probably won't care anymore. But we should be all right. We always get funds in from other places in any case. So that's kind of where we are with the accounts. It pretty much stays steady year on year. Really, we scratch by. It's basically what we do. If opening the centre loses us money, but if we don't open the centre, we really don't have a charity, do we? So that's the way it goes. So it's kind of like, it's been, as long as I've been treasurer, it's always been sort of, one year we're up 1,000, next year we're down a couple of thousand. It's fairly steady.
And is it worth just saying a little bit about memberships and subscriptions as well? Again, this is up to April 2023.
Yeah, well, I worked out that the actual paid subscriptions of members who are actually paying up and not on my list of people to keep reminding is 115 members. And previous to that, this is post changing our bank account. So when we switched to the co-op bank account, anyone who was paying by standing order on the original system and probably forgot they were still paying and money was kind of coming out their account into our funds, and they didn't switch over and update. So we probably lost sort of 75 people out of that process because they haven't gone and upgraded and moved their accounts. So so that's a kind of, we used to be on the range in about 200 members before then. So the switch of actual paid members now is 115. So in theory, if we kind of pressed, put an aim from gaining maybe sort of 50 plus members, regaining those who aren't paying, and make some new ones, that might in the end gain us that £1,000 or so, which adds the top up for the funds that get lost through the centre.
Okay. Do you want to just talk a little bit about the visitor numbers?
Yeah, I've found an old graph. So this year was the best figure numbers that we've had, 1,800 visitors through the door this season, which is the highest it's been since 2009. And you can see that in 2009 our figures were up into the 3,000 marks. So but we were open in those periods. We were open on Saturdays and Sundays as well. We were open all the way from the beginning of April right through to the end of October. That was generally the footfall that we had then. So the wee pink line kind of marks the seasonal sort of June to end of September, which is the core time frame when we were open at other times. But the upturn in numbers this year is very encouraging, and hopefully that we can build on that with advertising and word of mouth. I have a graph that I'll show later on in the talk, and it just basically shows that roughly 45% of people who come in just found us by walking through the village, and there's about 20% find us by word of mouth, and there's various other components after that. So actually making sure that we're visible when people are in the village and make them attractive to come in. And the fact that we weren't charging admission fees means that folk who might not have come in because they had to pay £5 or 10 quid to come in, came in and just maybe had a quick look around, decided maybe it wasn't for them, or maybe it was for them and they stayed longer and gave us some more money. So it's that word of mouth that hopefully will benefit from the no admission fees.
Yeah, just looking at the figures for the memberships, that is actually £1,000 of that deficit is the members that we lost potentially through the bank accounts. We need to strong arm some more people into membership. Gonna get to sign up, incentive, lifelong membership.
Everyone in here is all members. Two at the back, paid up members, but I think that's fine.
Before we move to adopt the accounts, I want just to ask people if there's anything that Fiona or Mark said that you want to question or explore just by way of the business update 23, or reflections that you might have for what we should do in future on the basis of what we've done up to 23. Sort out the membership might be an obvious thing, but the what do people think?
Have you got an application into the RI for inclusion?
Yes, we have. It wouldn't show up in these accounts, but in subsequent years it will.
So we have 5,000 for them for the video project.
More later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any other questions? Any suggestions? Any reflections? Things you think we should do as a consequence of what we've just told you? Open on Saturdays and Sundays. I just wonder if there's some things that we think we should consider going forward.
You could probably rubbish weather in October, things to do, and maybe just for a couple of days, those 10 days, October actually would be quite appreciated, I think, well, for cover itself pretty easily.
And from when you were Craig staffed the centre for a lot of the time over the summer, when you were working here, the sort of demographic was families with young children and school-age children.
Yeah, I mean, especially when the holiday time.
Yeah.
I think a lot of our visitors were campers, and when it rained, it's busy in here. It was great for us to come and visitors to do the kids and name our grandparents. But lately, I don't know demographics of who visits and where, and that might be an interesting term. How to find out is essential.
So for folk listening at home, that was Craig who ran the seminar, ran the centre over the summer, and he was saying that keeping the centre open into the October holidays would probably help with footfall and help people who are coping with the wet school holidays and Islay as well, who would feel very grateful for it. Malcolm, back.
This is a dilemma that the museum has every year, about October. We've tried closing in October, opening in October, opening for the 10-day holiday in October, and we've still not made up our minds, which is worth doing. Sorry, not very helpful.
So we should pick the brains of the museum before we make a decision that in there must lie the truth.
We have tried it once or twice, and there's an issue with the fact that most Islay families are going away to the mod or various other things and going. October's their holiday to get away from Islay because they've spent the summer being busy, and the issue of temperature, heating, and just that there's not always a lot of folk coming during that time. So it is a tricky one.
It's very wet.
Yes, well, at least it's dry in here. Reasonably. Okay, so anyway, we'll give these matters some thought with the assistance of the museum. The accounts, anybody want to raise anything about the accounts before I move that they're adopted?
He said if we've lost 75 members from subscriptions because of the bank account change, can we not contact them?
I have done. Every AGM and every time I have a mail shot, those who haven't paid, I send out reminders and things. So they've had 2 or 3 reminders in that process. Some people have decided that they're not, have said that they're not going to continue the subscriptions, and there's a number of those that kind of get lost. So
Yeah, I think
I'd-
some sort of membership drive maybe.
Yeah, we really do need a membership secretary. Anyone wants to take that job on? It's the sort of person who can, take that role on and then pester members at the right point of time and into renewing. So that would be ideal. But
Okay,
at
so
the moment, I do it every time I do a newsletter, and I have to do a mail out. I suddenly go through everything and work out who's still off the books or on the books and stuff.
so thinking about our opening hours might raise a bit more money. Thinking about our membership, trying to increase it might raise a bit more cash. Anything else that people want to suggest we consider?
I was just thinking, we've got a lovely big room here that I know we use for the rinse baby group.
Which are now finishing.
Are they finishing? Well, I know people that are looking for places to kind of to use, and I know we're heating the centre during the winter. Obviously, my electric bills have gone incredibly high on the sun, so we could, I think,
that would be
something,
good.
sort of renting the room out.
That would be good. So we have a Gaelic event coming in a few weeks' time, so that'd be interesting.
Right. Well, on the basis of the things we did up until April 23, and a few things that we should consider thereafter, and on the basis of what you've heard of the accounts, are you content to adopt them? Thank you. Right, and here comes elections to the committee, the moment you've all been waiting for. I did read the constitution before I came to the meeting, and the position is that all members of the committee retire at the meeting, and then if nobody much fancies being on the committee, they're all reappointed again. Now, I haven't had anybody coming on the committee saying that they want to stand down, which is good. And I haven't had anybody who's not on the committee, but a member or a prospective member, coming along and saying that they want to be on it. The screen tells you who the committee members are. We could have up to 12 members of the committee if we wanted. And any more, we'd have to start turning people down. I don't think we've ever done that. So would anybody like to be on the committee?
So everyone goes running for the hills.
Gosh.
What exactly is involved in being on the committee?
Well, as much or as little as you like. I mean, we have meetings. There's generally about between 4 and 6 committee meetings a year, and we try to indicate when they will be longer in advance, so as people can make their sort of travel and other plans accordingly. The meetings have generally, not generally, they've often been on Zoom or Teams or something like that, so as people who are not on the island can attend them too. So you don't have to live here permanently to attend the meetings. We talk about we talk about the routine business of making the trust work, about how when the centre should open, the sorts of routine work we do by way of surveys and things like that. And also we've been trying to think hard about its future. So with the 40th anniversary and with the interest in increasing membership, and on the back of grants from the Ardbeg Fund and a few others, and on the basis that biodiversity is becoming an increasingly important aspect of government policy, people's lives, everybody's well-being. We've tried to think hard about our future and to give ourselves a more substantial profile and a greater range of work. So we've been thinking about the future of the trust as well. Now, our thinking about that is still developing, but you don't have to know lots about nature to join the committee. You just have to come along with a sense of fun and imagination and a willingness to get along with people, and then you do something really useful for the trust. So if if you fancy joining, don't feel intimidated. We're all fantastic.
We're not committee, we're just a team, we
Even
just
the treasurer
chat.
is fantastic. And you don't have to put your hand up now. You can come along afterwards and join the committee. If you want to think about it, that would be splendid. What, I mean, how do other folk find committee members? It's not known as them, is it?
No. no, it's not
Apart from the
really.
treasury job.
Battling with the bank occasionally, but no, it's fine.
No, we just come up, if someone's got ideas, we throw them around and then work out the best way of doing it, or work out what we've done before.
Filling
And
the
if it
lobster
worked,
tank is about the
yeah, it's sort of
most difficult thing.
making sure things are tidy for opening up and closing down, and then attending shows, or if we're on a show stall or something, or got an event on, just come in and muck in. So you don't actually have to be on the committee just to help out. It's
Yeah.
so yeah, it's just hands. Many hands make light work of the many things. So I do a lot of the things. So whatever I can kind of, someone else can take on, all to the better. And I can do the things that I'm actually better at, and not try and muscle on and do the things that I'm not actually quite so good at. But
Okay, so if you want to join the committee, there's plenty of spaces, and honestly, it's not intimidating. So please have a chat to one of us if you fancy it. We also have to elect the office bearers, and I said I'd be the chair for 6 months, and then we'd think about it again. No one has made another suggestion, so
Seriously, this life, I'm afraid.
Does anybody want to be an office bearer? We have 2 vacancies, the secretary and the vice chair.
so I've already said I might be secretary.
So,
Happy to take that one
there's a nomination for secretary. Is there a nomination for vice chair? There's very, very scrutable faces in the room. I can't see
We could
anybody online.
strong arm Isabel. She did it once before.
Although I can't see Isabel on screen, but so if there is can I propose that the office bearers are elected? So that would be me as chair, Mark as treasurer.
Yeah.
Can I suggest that Fiona becomes secretary? I see nobody dissenting, and vice chair is an opportunity waiting for somebody after the meeting. So we'll fill that in due course if we may. Okay. Any other business? Well, thank you for that. And now we get to the interesting bit. I declare the annual general meeting formal business at an end. And we're going to have an interesting talk, principally by Fiona, but it starts with Malcolm, who I think is the very first chair of the trust. Is that right? First? Second?
My first appointment as director.
No. Do you want to come to the front, Malcolm, and just explain? Because the microphone will...
Do I have to have a microphone?
No, hold on a minute. I'll to
You
set
have to
up
stand near
first.
this computer, ideally.
I'm just going to set up and move this one over.
I have no illustrations. Fiona does. So I will stand so I'm not being dazzled by that things. But you need to hear me.
Well, after speaking to this one, hold on a minute. I'm trying to work it out to get change it something from.
Before the technology. What else? Yeah, first that was at Baltimore, where the IT man fixed up a camera inside an S-box on Moore's holiday cottage. And there was a television screen in the cottage that the visitors watched, and we had one here for about 3 years.
Okay.
And this is lovely. Children especially, because come in, 1, 2, 3 chicks.
You're going to put Malcolm in the front of the laptop, Fiona.
Yep.
It finally. Okay, I'm being dazzled by that. That's all.
Oh.
Could you dim it or turn it away from me?
Can you move the screen? That's better. Yeah. See Malcolm's. Let's move it a bit more so we can see Malcolm's face.
Oh, the camera's there. That little.
Yeah, but all we can see is your tummy.
Which is large enough. Thank you for reminding everybody. How's that?
Much better.